Alright, so Ask the Don this week. Paul McDonald talks about cornering. He asked me, when do I lean my bike over and when do I lean my body and the bike over? Well, Paul, that comes down to the sort of corner you're riding. What I find most people need to practice is learning how to lean the bike over. By that I mean getting your weight fairly upright, lowering your outside foot and trying to get your weight low into the outside of the bike. What I look for is your hips go to the outside of the saddle. That works really well on flat turns where you can really think about getting the bike laid over on the edge of its tyres. The times when you don't want to do that is when you're hitting corners really hard, so maybe a big berm that you G out in, where you want to keep your weight more central above the bike. Also corners where it might be super rough, so any time when you don't want to be hanging off the outside of the bike. But most people want to learn how to get the bike laid over and then work backwards from there. Okay, so there's a few of you guys have watched our 60-second how to bunny hop video and say you're still struggling with lifting the rear wheel. So let's look at that. Let's forget the front wheel for a second. Let's presume you can do the manual and let's just think about lifting the rear wheel up. This is where you can cheat a little bit if you ride clipped in and you can just pick the back wheel up with your feet. But what I really try and get people to do is use their weight to do it more than actually picking up with their feet. So weight, think about your hips. Let's pretend you've done your manual, your hips are down and quite nice and low to that rear tyre. From there, you need to stand up and forward. There's your weight going up and forward, and then you can actually rely on a little bit of a scoop back against your pedals. That's almost the same as pulling with your feet, but really it's your hips that are doing most of it, hopefully. Now it's all down to the timing in a hop. You need to have done your manual, and as the front wheel's peaking, you're then standing up and forwards towards the front. That pops up the back wheel. If you leave it too late, your front wheel will start dropping, and it's much harder to then pick up the back wheel. So try and get hips doing most of it, and then you can rely on a little bit of a scoop or a little bit of a pull with the feet. The main reason you don't want to try and pull too much, because with flat pedals, you'll pull off your pedals. Also, you can only ever then pick up your rear wheel as much as you've got bend in your legs. Okay, so really practice that, getting your weight, starting off really nice and low, swinging up and forward, a little bit of scoop with the feet. Once you get that timing of down and back, then up and forward, you need less scoop or less pull with your feet because the rear wheel will actually start to pop up. Really, it's a case of practicing your manuals first, because if you've got to think about what you're doing with the manual and lifting the rear wheel, it's very hard. So get the manual dial first, the next part should come much easier afterwards. Okay, so I've got a tweet from Pavel Viegas. It's actually 3 tweets, a really long question. He says, when going through rock gardens on a 120mm cross-country bike, should I concentrate more on 1, riding slower and finding the best path just in front of me, or 2, riding faster and looking ahead on the trail? He's scared that going too fast, he'll lose stability over the bigger rocks. I should say the answer to that is probably going nice and quick most of the time. Think about riding down a set of steps when you're a kid. The faster you go, the smoother it is, the less you drop into the bottom of the holes. But yes, you do have to be careful of going too fast, dropping into a big hole and then getting that weight onto the bars or even going over the bars. So it's really important that you pick your line early, look where you want to be, and then bring your head up so you're looking out of that section. Here we've got a small man-made section. The best line is in the middle, and I'm going to try and carry quite good speed into it. It's going to be a bit smoother. It's also really important that you practice your bunny hops so that you can unweight over the worst of it. Some of these sides, these big rocks, if you slap into them, it's going to get nasty. So I'm going to go quick, but also I might rely on taking a bit of weight up and off the bike should I feel that those holes are getting too deep. Okay, so we've got a tweet from @DCM saying that sometimes when I jump, I pull on the bars and go sideways in the air. How do I stop this happening? Basically, that comes back to trying to lift the front wheel into the air using a good manual technique. And a good manual technique, you should be using your weight to lift the front wheel and not pulling on the bars. It's a really common thing that I see it all the time when I'm coaching. When people manual, they'll use their arms to pull the bars in the air, and generally the bars will go a little bit sideways one way or the other. So you just don't judge the pull very well. So go back to practicing your manual, and on your manual you want to be using your hips down and back. Your arms should actually go straight, and then the front wheel comes up using your weight. You then transfer that to a jump, and you should be using a nice bunny hop technique to make height on a jump, so that your weight will be lifting the front wheel and not pulling on the bars. Therefore, it should stay straight. Okay, so there's Ask the Don. Don't forget, you can send us your questions on our Facebook, Twitter. We've even got an Instagram now, it's Global Mountain Bike Network. So leave your questions there, I'll do my best to help you out. For more how-to videos, why not click on our How to Go Faster up here, or to make sure your bike's in tip-top condition, you don't want that ruining your ride, click down here for our mechanical how-tos. You can also click on me if you want to subscribe to the channel, GMBN.